I wasn't sure if Scarlet Nexus was going to sell well enough to prompt Bandai Namco into making a sequel, but the company said that they expected it to pass 1 million sales early in 2022. That definitely seems good enough for a burgeoning IP that Bandai Namco clearly invested a decent amount into with the game and anime to indicate they're going to continue making games or other media surrounding this world. While Scarlet Nexus is a full game with a satisfying conclusion, there are plenty of ways a sequel could go to expand on the previously established characters or even the world in general. This video is not spoiler free for Scarlet Nexus, so venture forth only if you have played through the whole game or just don't care enough to leave. Here then are my hopes and predictions for a Scarlet Nexus sequel. Some brief background for those who don't know Scarlet Nexus. It is an action JRPG developed and published by Bandai Namco. The game was released in June of 2021, along with an anime released during that summer season. The story focused on two protagonists with psychokinetic and time travel abilities with somewhat split paths in Yuito Sumeragi and Kasane Randall. It takes place in the country of New Himuka in a distant future of Earth and was described by the developers as a brain punk setting. Upon release, the game met with positive critical reviews and decent sales as I talked about earlier, which makes a sequel seem likely. Now, the ending of Scarlet Nexus opened up several possibilities for sequels continuing off of the events of the first game. The biggest one, though, is the expedition heading from Earth to the Moon, now that the extinction belt has been removed. With several familiar faces, including one of the main characters from Scarlet Nexus, Kasane, embarking on this journey, I feel it's safe to say this trip will play some role in a sequel. This could be the case if it's a direct sequel, allowing for Kasane to remain the main character and keep some of the supporting cast along with introducing new characters either from the party exploring the moon or survivors on the moon. It also could expand options for a story of Scarlet Nexus decades down the line when adult Yuito has made his mark in the political world and Kasane has likely risen the ranks of the restructured and revamped OSF. This idea could set up new protagonists being mentored by the old as they set out from New Himuka to reclaim some of the territory from the weakening but still dangerous others. Lastly, there's the idea of a game far in the future when all of the characters from the first game's time are gone. Unfortunately, some actions have led to a revival of the others, and now the new crew needs to combat the others and may need to travel back in time to try and find out how to destroy the others. This last one could even have them travel back and meet the original cast, allowing for cameos of our favorites. I truly think any one of these could make for a compelling story given the world and characters created in the first game. I do think I prefer either of the first two. I like the characters from the original game and would like to see more of them. And as for which one is the most likely for Bandai Namco to go with, I would say it is the first one because it has the most direct connection to the original game. Plus, I think Scarlet Nexus would benefit from additional time to explore and refine their world building, which was one of the strongest features in the first game. As for the cast itself, as I said before, Scarlet Nexus had a great cast, and I think the bonding events really helped the player see both their growth over the story and also how they fit into New Himuka's society. I definitely want to see more of that character development from returning and new cast members, and I think a sequel would be well served in reducing the cast size down somewhat, perhaps 6 party members instead of the up to 10 the original game had. And oh yeah, only one protagonist. I think the dual route was a cool concept and it worked for the first game, but I'm worried they may try to shoehorn it in for the second game and it won't work as well the next time. I know all too well about mechanics being shoehorned into subsequent games where they really don't fit. Otherwise though, I have faith that even if they don't heed my wishes for a slightly smaller cast, they'll do a good job writing them out. Although, another piece of advice, maybe we should have the operator actually have a role in the story. You know, feel like part of the team. Poor Wataru and Haruka, they never seemed like they actually belonged. I mean, just give them bonding events already. Speaking of bonding events, the individual events don't need to change. I liked the structure of them and definitely the writing for them. I do wish that there was a clearer sign of the progress you were making towards leveling up a bond with a particular character, but the system of bonding episodes and gifts works for me. The team bonding levels, though, were not clearly explained. It didn't even work for my Yuito playthrough. I think simplifying the system by just making the level an aggregate of the levels of all your party member bonds makes the most sense and should clear up confusion as to why it wasn't advancing. I'm glad it worked for my Kasane playthrough because I enjoyed seeing the scenes, but it was frustrating when it wasn't working, but the explanation of how it was supposed to work wasn't clear, and so it was hard to tell what was going wrong. I also think they should expand on the base that they had in the first game, make it even more customizable, have the characters going through various different areas. This really works with the moon base idea because the main base could serve as the customizable character interactive space for Kasane and whoever else is on the moon trip. When it comes to combat gameplay, the system itself is great. I wouldn't change much within it. If there's a new cast with new powers, finding creative ways to use them will be a challenge for the devs, but they managed with the original cast, so I have faith in them here as well. If the cast is mostly returning though, for instance the Moon Mission one, maybe allowing an SAS connection to Haruka, who can use telepathic powers to immobilize enemies temporarily, could be added. Plus, any new powers from new characters, of course. What really made the Scarlet Nexus power system work though was how they interacted with the various enemies. The enemy design, both art style and gameplay wise, was well thought out. Therefore, in a sequel with adjusted powers, new enemies are necessary to continue the strong synergy between the enemies and the party's powers. That is easy to accomplish story-wise by either having the moon have mutated different others, or having the party explore further into Earth finding hitherto undiscovered others. I also think exploration can be expanded by adding in artifacts of previous civilization, either on the moon or Earth, to supplement the world building. I think weaving exploration into the already pretty good world building would be an excellent way to add details and reward players who take the time to explore around each area. What really needs to change though in a sequel for gameplay is all of the side content. To say Scarlet Nexus' side quests were pointless would be somehow an understatement. Here are some ideas of how a sequel could fix that. 1. Make the side quests more story relevant. Name the NPCs and give them plot lines of their own to solve, or perhaps make character side quests for either the party or notable non-party members. 2. Give actually useful rewards. Part of the pointlessness of the side quests in Scarlet Nexus was that very few of them gave items you couldn't get easily in other ways. 3. Don't be so specific. Another frustrating aspect of the side quests were that several of them required very specific scenarios in order to complete them. So not only were the rewards redundant and the story content non-existent, but some of them were also overly challenging to complete. If Scarlet Nexus really wants to have engaging side content, maybe they should just consider mini-games or collectibles. Baki Doll collecting could work, as could a side card game like Vantage Masters from Cold Steel. Make it using cards of famous Scarlet Guardians, since clearly the Society of New Himuka is fascinated enough with them to make a game like that. These are the sort of inclusions that would make the side content actually fun to engage with, as well as building the world, as opposed to what we actually got. Presentation-wise, I think the visuals and style of Scarlet Nexus were great, but there are some ideas I have for changes. Starting with the comic-style panels, I think they can still work, but in a smaller quantity. Make more critical scenes, cutscenes, and other minor scenes the panels along with the side content. I think the balance of these seen in Tales of Arise would be what I'd want for Scarlet Nexus 2 as well. The second idea I have is letting Scarlet Nexus, the original game, hold on to the whole red color scheme, then each game of the series could embrace a new color like Persona does. You would have to change the name for each game then, but imagine a moonset game with blue coloring that could use the name Azure Nexus, or a purple coloring that could be called Violet Nexus. The color scheme could really help the games achieve distinction from each other. Otherwise though, the soundtrack was well suited for the game and I just want to hear more. And the actual art style works for me. Voice acting was top notch as well, so it's mainly just including more cutscenes and fewer panels and changing up the color scheme that I want for a follow-up game. If I get that, I will be happy. In conclusion, my preference for a Scarlet Nexus 2 would be a game set on the moon starring a mix of new and old cast with a new color scheme and expanded side content. Combat, art style, music, and character writing were already highlights for the original game that I'd just like to see more of the same in the sequel. I really enjoyed my time with Scarlet Nexus, and I think it's got good series potential. Hopefully, Bandai Namco agrees and will give the developers the go-ahead to make it happen. What do you think? Will a Scarlet Nexus sequel happen? And if it does, what do you want it to have/be about? Let me know in the comments, and while you're heading down there, a like would be most appreciated. If you're not subscribed, which based on viewership numbers most of you are not, and want to see any more of my videos, please do subscribe, and thank you to those who are already subscribed. To all of you, Thank you for watching, have a great day, and happy gaming.